All right, everyone. So on her podcast, Nikki Bella talked about kind of how Seth Rollins shocked everyone by his injury return. We're going to react to the clip. Here it is.
You know, this is what's a great example, and this is what
What?
I love about our business, and I feel like a lot of SOGs do this. Rollins fooled us all. Like
For sure.
he was at Evolution back there
Oh, I
all.
know.
I had almost a 30-minute conversation with him about his knee.
So that's so funny. That's so funny to me that the depths that they went. I mean, I remember he posted a picture with his daughter too, where I think they were out somewhere, and it wasn't Disney World. They were going somewhere, but he was on crutches and he was very clearly injured. The depths that they went to cover up this injury was just fascinating to me and so good. And now even people backstage had no clue. Just phenomenal.
And he's like, "Yeah, it's the same one. This feels worse, but
Wow.
it gave me a good 10 years."
He was
No.
committed.
I
Remember, we did a video on an interview. I think it was either the Rich Eisen show or the Dan Patrick show. I forget which one. But I think it was Rich Eisen. He did an interview and he was saying the same stuff. It was stunning. Stunning. And it's kind of interesting though looking back on it, because when you look back on it, you realize he really was taking this injury well. Like, I know I was kind of buying into the whole thing of, well, he's kind of older now, he's been around the business, maybe it doesn't affect him as much. But looking back, it's like, man, he was on top of the world. Right? This is what Seth Rollins has been waiting for. Um, because and we've done many videos kind of talking about this topic, but Seth Rollins was such a great worker for the WWE over the past 2 years, and in both WrestleManias, he played such a key part. But it became one of those things where he was always the character that was such a key part of the storyline. Like 2 years ago when Cody finished his story, and he was obviously injured, and he still kind of gutted it through and was played a key part in both days. But he was never the main show, right? He was in the main event. He was a key part of some of these main events, but it was Cody's story. It was the Bloodline storyline. It was always, him being such a key part, the fans loving him, but he was always kind of that third guy. And yet, in 1 year, they switched that. Now, look, I know John Cena has his farewell tour going on. I know Cody is still such a big star, but Seth Rollins and his faction and what happened at WrestleMania, he was the star of the show. And he was the guy that, I mean, as good as the Cena Cody match, the fact that Cena broke the record, everybody kind of agrees. Night one, that main event was the better match. Even Triple H thinks that, right? Even Triple H says that. So he finally has become the top dog. And so looking back on that interview, it's like, man, if he was actually injured, like right when you get to the top of the mountain and you're holding, strong there, you end up getting hurt. That would be just heartbreaking. So maybe he wasn't as good of an actor, or maybe he wasn't as okay with it if it was real, right? As he was on that interview.
I couldn't believe the whole thing. Like I felt so bad for him
Hmm.
because we feel
I
bad,
remember you
but
telling me.
right? You know,
So I just found this part of the interview, or this part of the podcast, so funny, because it's like you could tell she's like, man, I was bought in on this. I felt bad for him. He's backstage telling me about this. He's not only that, he's doing like a lie on top of a lie on top of a lie. Like, he's lying about the fact that he's hurt, but he's also making it so believable. He's like, yeah, this is worse than 2015. This feels worse than it did. And you could just imagine that, like how crazy that was. And then, of course, you have Gunther fighting Goldberg. And I was willing to buy into it being not a real injury until that, because when I saw that he didn't cash in, I went, oh, I was like, it was I was so pissed. Just to be honest about it, I understood. Okay, maybe he's actually hurt, so they can't have it happen. But I wanted that shock factor. I wanted that to be the case, and it never happened. So I was like, okay, well, it didn't happen. Then lo and behold, right when you kind of are lulled to sleep, right when you're not really thinking about it, what did we get? We get the cash in. And the way they did it was, I honestly think it was perfect. I think it was perfect. Number one, Something that was somewhat predictable, which was a Seth Rollins cash in. Something that's somewhat predictable was kind of now out of the question, right? Because we're like, okay, well, they would have probably done it at a Saturday night main event, so that's kind of out now. That's number one. Number two, the way in which it happened, where CM Punk finally gets this, right? He's like, okay, here we go. So, you could see the emotion on his face, and to hear the music hit and to have Seth Rollins come down to the ring. Now you're furthering that storyline. And it's one of those things where I'm not even like the biggest CM Punk fan in terms of like a lot of people love CM Punk. Look, I think he's a good character, but he's not my favorite wrestler in the business today. But I felt terrible for him. As soon as I heard the music, it was excitement, and then when I realized what was about to happen, I felt, "Oh my god." I was like, "Oh, this is just absolutely heartbreaking." And it just how they pulled it all off just was perfect. It gave us the shock factor and the excitement factor, which is needed, and it also furthered a storyline, which was needed. So I just think they did such a great job with it, and I can't even put into words listening to like what Nikki Bella is saying here about they were lying to people backstage, they were lying to everyone, and in a time where there's more access to information than ever, it's so hard to keep things secret. All of this in that world that we live in now, WWE has pulled major, major things with nobody knowing. John Cena heel turn, Brock Lesnar return, Seth Rollins injury. I mean, all of that, right? He has pulled, or WWE has pulled these major, major shocking events with zero people knowing. And I love it. I love it because as much as I feel like I have to bring some of those spoiler stuff to you guys just because it's like, okay, you're kind of covering wrestling news. And, I always make sure that we're not spoiling it in the headline or spoiling it in the image. And we let you know when a spoiler's coming so we don't give you unwanted spoilers. But for those who want the information soon, I feel like you almost have to do it. Now with WWE kind of being able to do it without anybody finding out makes me so happy because then I get to react to it without having it spoiled. I get to react to it live and have that genuine reaction to it. Because let's be honest, if Seth Rollins' cash in was spoiled, it's not that I wouldn't have cared anymore, but it would have been like, oh, this injury is just not, it's not real. And so it's going to happen, right? It wouldn't be the same. If Brock Lesnar's return was spoiled, I would have been waiting for it, but it wouldn't have hit the same way. If the heel turn with Seth Rollins was spoiled, wouldn't have hit the same way. If John Cena's heel turn was spoiled, it wouldn't have hit the same way. So thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I just wanted to do this because I found it so funny. Nikki Bella just talking about it. Like, yeah, he had all of us feeling bad for him, only to not actually be injured. Thank you all for watching.